All right, as promised at E3, since Ubisoft decided to announce a new Avatar game, let's take a look at the original one that they did back when the James Cameron movie actually got released.
Okay,
Jesus.
now I know what you're probably thinking. It's going to be another squirm-roofing moment. Well, yes and no. Sure, we may riff on Avatar, but believe it or not, this is actually a solid game. And yes, from Ubisoft as well.
It's definitely much more impressive. Also, those trademarks. It's definitely much more impressive. I have to admit. I was expecting a very shallow experience, kind of like Battleship. Like 3 hours and I'm done. But to
To
be
be
fair,
fair, this opening menu is kind of a bit generic.
oh, also for I know that she is not present, but for Air Delight, no subtitles. But you sure as hell have a lot of options for 3D compatibility. Now that's what I call accessibility.
Makes sense too, because this movie was the poster
2009.
In the
boy
wise
for
words of a Bridget Alucard, no, it's a fact that
Not
you will
just that.
never catch on.
Yeah.
not just that too. This movie was the poster boy for 3D movies, so it makes sense that the game would follow suit.
That being said, though, why no subtitles? You have literally just about everything except text on screen.
I
Because
got
for
the answer.
whatever
I got the
reason-
answer to that question, Joe. There.
Actually, okay, hold on.
Oh,
Okay, no, I might have fucked up because I think the subtitles might be there, but they're like turned on by default. I have feeble memories. I still remember not finding them in the option at the very least. Anyway, said you don't have a character customization, but you have to pick from presets. Spoilers, we all look like garbage.
I guess
So-
at least they were inclusive with the different ones, but
That
yeah.
that is true, but humans look so uncanny no matter what model do you pick.
Also,
To be fair, I'm pretty confident they
So
also
I'm
didn't
gonna
have that
go
much time or money.
with yeah,
Wait,
the Irish, the Irish guy might as well.
wait. Jake Wesker?
So was this game made by the Michel Ancel team or something?
Sadly, no.
No,
Instead,
seriously, that-
instead, it was done by Ubisoft Montreal with.
Oh,
let me see.
the same guys who gave us the Mario plus Rabbids crossover.
No, that's Ubisoft Milan, Jova.
Oh,
Ubisoft
right.
Montreal is in Canada, and it gave us most of the Assassin's Creed video games.
Oh, never mind. Yes, I am terribly mistaken. Adversity man.
So yeah, let's go with the Irish shillelagh. Why not?
Seriously though, he looks like Jake
All right,
Wesker.
I know what you're thinking. What kind of game are we talking about that story-wise? It's actually surprisingly a prequel to the movie.
Huh.
Set before, I think, 2 years officially before the events of the movie. So we don't have all of the characters from the movie yet. Some of them will show up, and those that show up actually get their actual actor from the movie reprising the roles. No sound alikes whatsoever involved. So that's pretty cool. And I will tell you that overall, the voice acting is final across the board, starting with Sigourney Weaver telling you to arrive. Basically, you're part of the corporation that's landing on Pandora. You're part of reinforcements and the one of the first riders of the program, of the Avatar program.
I'll give him credit. That's a very good likeness of Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, again, you can tell already, even if there's some gonkness all over the place, Ubisoft tried to construct a rich full experience to make it, worth as an experience compared to most of the traditional licensed games. We tried very little about it. It does remind me a lot of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
You know what?
That brand.
To be fair, I can sort of get it. If any movie was going to get a good game adaptation, I'm actually not surprised it was James Cameron's Avatar. Yes, for as much as we do like to poke fun at how pretty much no one remembers it outside of it just being the highest grossing movie of all time, which admittedly is quite an impressive feat, but still though...
Also, for the record... Sorry.
It did revolutionize a lot of key components of filming, 3D, and special effects work. James Cameron, in his typical element, ended up creating new technology that people use to this day just to make this world come to life. So it makes sense that the game would at least be up to snuff to pay homage to it properly.
And Cameron was actually involved in this game.
Eh?
Sorry,
oh,
Webster?
he was.
Yeah, he was.
So this is Officer Midori, played by Kimberly Brooks.
So how was he involved in this game, Dwibs?
I think it was either a consultant or at least a producer or something, because I can tell you this: the game has built in basically an entire encyclopedia
Well,
with every single nook and cranny
Well,
from the
he was at
franchise.
least worked in conjunction with the developers.
So yeah, this is your military base. Don't worry, it's not just the outside. We can get also on the inside. And again, you can tell that they try to make the ambient, rich and with people doing stuff. So from what I checked, this story is almost all across the board. The only versions that have a different stories are the Wii and the PSP version, which is a different storyline that's very more railroaded and talks about a young Navi, living the life on Pandora. But that's it.
So
Well, here instead is tries to be a more official tie-in.
Were there changes for the PS2 version?
I don't think there was a PS2 version. Only for PC, Nintendo DS, PS3, Xbox 360, Wii, PSP, iPhone, iPad, and Android.
I suppose to be fair, by 2009, the PS2 was more or less kinda... Well, okay. Let's be honest, it still hung around, but I guess around that time, people were finally starting to have a bit more faith in the PS3 to use
Come
over
on,
the PS2.
load already. Yeah, if this game was done today, my movement would be forced to just walking normally in this sequence.
The PS2 was around from 2000 till 2013.
You have to remember it's mostly just for South American country and for stuff like FIFA.
No, actually, Tio, even for America, because let's not forget, the PS3 was kind of a mess, so the PS2 was kind of kept around as a safety net.
But you have to remember, until 2013, it was mostly for shovelware stuff like FIFA.
If I recall correctly, it did still get versions of stuff here and there, but yeah.
I'm not using it now, but using R2, I think you can actually scan the environment and gain new data on the Pandorapedia. What is the Pandorapedia? An entire encyclopedia with very lengthy text about every nook and cranny of the franchise.
You know what? That's actually kind of cool.
It's basically your data log. However, I argue that it's kind of like in the Quantum Break, where it's not really that pleasing to the eye to read. And it's just this wall of text that is very imposing to you. I normally don't mind this kind of thing, but I can tell that a casual player will probably not be interested in this. However, I'm issuing also this while we're waiting for the game to progress. Since I'm actually having to still finish the recording, all of you three, I want you in the meantime to think about any questions that you had from watching the movie, like say the flying mini sperms or anything, and ask me, and I will grant a special part where I search those specific entries, just out of curiosity alone.
Okay.
How to
you don't have to answer me now. Just think about it in the meantime.
To be perfectly honest, I can't even think of anything to ask because I just found the world not that interesting, to be honest with you.
Well, you did raise questions, so I assume that you wanted to
I did raise questions, but I'm not gonna lose sleep if I don't get answers. That's basically my point.
Well, to be fair, Pedro, I think Teos' point is more like, for every question we had, there's probably gonna be an answer.
I understand. Sure, I understand. Which again boggles the mind. James, you probably shouldn't have required to put most of the information of the world building in the tie-in licensed game of the movie.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay, to be fair, given how, as Teo mentioned, a lot of the details here are very minuscule, I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that most of the stuff here is more like extra flavor stuff and, stuff that wouldn't have affected the movie as much, per se. Or stuff that you can just read between the lines, but then you get the exact answer to in here. I mean, I'm trying to remember our film commentary of it, if there was any truly big plot hole world questions that we had.
Anyway, this is Dr. Monroe, played by Gregory Alan Williams, and it's basically the being responsible for the Avatar program right now. Sigourney Weaver's character is more like supervising it from another base of the RDA. So let's test out a bit the Avatar program.
I suppose
1990.
I suppose the best way to describe James Cameron's Avatar film is like, well, it was a very, very, very well thought out world. It just wasn't a very interesting world. Well, okay. Maybe it's interesting to some, but like it was kind of
You're doing well.
I'm trying to think of a word for it.
This is trippy.
All's normal. Your readings are solid.
Baby steps, Ryder. You look good.
And yeah, this is our Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, our avatar.
Cute.
Oh.
It's okay, Ryder. This is normal.
So our character's name is Ryder. Perfect
Yeah, with
names.
a Y because poor literacy is cool. The main version is played by Chris Edgerly.
Don't you see? Well, it's it's a perfect
Well,
name that can be
sorry,
used
go
for
on.
either male or female.
The female version is played by Audrey Vasilevsky.
Oh, not Jennifer Hale. I'm actually
No,
surprised.
I don't think Jennifer Hale is in this game.
Now run along.
Really?
No, she's not.
That's kind of amazing.
If she is, she might be uncredited.
I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think the best way to describe the James Cameron Avatar franchise as a whole is misguided effort. I do feel like he has only the best intentions of it, but it's like, you know that big project that you're making on, and you're so excited, but when it comes out, you realize you're kind of the only one who's excited about that? Okay, that's probably not the proper way to describe Avatar given how much money it made, but it kind of is turning into that given how James Cameron has
I will
taken
say
ages
this,
to make the sequel.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm okay with mostly what the world they're establishing, but I'm not really in a hurry to check out the sequel when it comes in theater. Mostly we'll check it out on digital anyway. Anyway, let me tell you this. Unfortunately, since it's the prequel, sadly, we don't have the very bizarreness of Colonel Quaritch in the heads of a project, and instead we have the current holder, Commander Falco.
Oh boy.
So we have to report to him for getting our first mission, and you'll never guess who he's voiced by.
Falco's voice actor from Smash Brothers?
I don't even know who. I know who Falco is. I don't remember who his voice actor is, but no, it's probably not that.
Oh my god, well, you know, it's nice to see that Falco finally got a promotion from Star Fox Command at least.
Get out of my way.
It's also to follow up on that, like
Hold on.
well,
Oh,
I think we're about
Halo
to talk-
Station!
Well, Halo is a common term, Joe, but I mean, the game did not invent anything.
Of course, of course.
Anyway, I think that's very... No, go ahead, Pedro, you have a minute.
no, like the big problem with the franchise is not so much the world building. That's fine. Well, okay, I have my issue with it, but that's a topic another day.
Oh, goody,
point is-
Unobtainium's a thing here too.
Yeah, I will actually dedicate part to the Unobtainium since it did raise some questions for that extra part. Rest assured of that. Anyway, sorry, go on.
It's also it's mostly the fact that the actual story and characters are so paper thin that it really is hard to really get invested in anything that actually happens in the
Anyway,
movie.
Commander Falco, for some reason, is voiced by Paul Aidings.
Seems like a life.
Get this,
Huh.
a game where mission control is voiced by Paul Aidings. Huh.
Oh my god, it's Ben Tennyson's grandfather. Oh,
Sure,
also-
I was going for Metal Gear, but sure, let's go with that.
I know, but that's the obvious one.
And I got a trophy just for talking to another game. As someone who actually cares about trophy, I don't like being patronized like this. Thank you.
Okay, to be fair, Ni no Kuni 1 gives you a trophy for just getting into the basic Ni no Kuni world, which is basically just incredibly real
I mean,
and
it's
holding
still-
stuff.
Do my best.
I mean, it's still more challenging than the B movie trophy that you get. You get a trophy getting into the car.
I mean, the
Yeah, but that's
Deadpool,
meant
the
to be-
Deadpool video game has it as a joke where it literally gives you 2 trophies when you boot it up.
Wow, who knew the B movie was secretly deep like that? That being said, though, yeah, Paul Hayding is an interesting addition here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the guy. Great voice actor and all. Check him out in Ben 10 and, of course, the Metal Gear series.
I can tell you this, Job. Replaying the Ratchet and Clank series, he also has a good range because he has to play some NPCs in those games, and he's surprisingly good at that.
Come to think of it, I guess to be fair, I can see why they had him here because he's a leadership position.
You have to remember, Job. Outside from the actors who were, characters in the movie. Most of the other voice actors are, traditional video game voice actors, but not contacted, TV actors or something like Square Enix does these days. Anyway, this is gonna be our first major area and sort of a tutorial one at that, where we will learn how to control our character as a human.
Seriously, man, you do not want to go beyond the fences, okay? I heard about a dude lost his arm to a plant. A freaking plant.
Dude.
Especially in video
Pandora.
games.
Okay, I will say this, however, as a detractment to the game. You know how Pandora is described as this planet where, basically Australia, where literally everything can kill you and you never know what to expect with the environment? I have to sadly say that Ubisoft made all the areas in the game basically the same stock jungle and canyons with not a lot of... Okay, they're supposedly varied, but it's kind of, it kind of loses you to the eye the more as you progress through the game, and they start to look samey. It's like, imagine this, it's like if the first Uncharted, instead of having the progression of levels that it has, was basically just the first level copy-pasted over and over.
Viper wolves?
You'll love them. You've worked a turret, right? Good. Climb the main gate and lay down some covering fire. Move it!
Also, dude, yeah, that's another thing.
What?
Returning from Lightning Returns, I gloriously present to you, which will happen multiple times during this run, interrupting NPCs. Every time you talk with someone that's supposed to give you a quest, other NPCs can literally barge in.
Oh boy, my favorites.
Anyway, as a shooter, these work exactly as you may think, R1R1. This is where I discovered the scanning function that allows you to scan literally everything you want, organic and non-stuff from everywhere, to add to the Pandorapedia.
In that sense.
Anyway, yes, Pedro?
Now, licensed games, the interesting thing is that when it comes to licensed games of this time, when it comes to the actual differences, it could be very differently. Usually, a company will either have like a certain developer make stuff for PC and HD consoles, and make another developer making things for the PS2 and PSP and Wii. However,
here Ubisoft did most of the job by themselves.
Oh, I get that, Teo, but since you told me that the Wii game is apparently different. It's probably made by a different internal team at
yeah,
Ubisoft.
but that is probably true. Though it's still created as Ubisoft Montreal in the end. It's kind of like how the
two teams, probably.
It's kind of like how the House of Agahul video game was done by the Chrome Studios for pretty much all versions of it, or how the poor people at Beanox were forced to work on all versions of the Spider-Man games they did.
So it also has to do with how they made the games, because the thing about like Teo said, the Legends of Gahul game, that one clearly was probably made for the Wii, and the other versions are upscaled ports. That's usually how. Okay.
Specialist.
Thanks.
This isn't over yet. We still have a man deep in the wire.
Yeah, this is teach you of the controls of vehicles. Again, there's a surprising amount of variety of stuff that you can do. Even as a human, you have different type of firearms. It will also showcase that you have also a different set of skills that you can perform, stuff that wasn't in the movie, and a variety of vehicle that you actually can pilot, like in this case, a buggy.
I will give them credit. It would have been so easy to just have the human gameplay be bog standard while they put most of the effort into the Avatar gameplay.
I will also have to, that's also a good thing. I will mention something like this at the end of part 2, where it becomes more relevant on that.
But yeah, I mean, some minor quirks aside, so far so good with this game.
When it comes also to the characterization, your character is not mute, but he will not speak much during, dialogue with the others. More like simple answers, like "got it," or "what should I do?" But you have these audio journals to understand what Abel is thinking.
Whatever the name, it's a chance to check
So the
out
music
the
for this game was done
life.
by a guy named Chance Thomas,
Yeah.
who previously helped Lord of the Rings Online game, and he also did the music for Peter Jackson's
He's mostly
video game.
He's mostly specialized in licensed games, basically.
Okay. Now, I'm not too sure about this game, but I've definitely heard nothing but good about the King Kong video game.
Well, Jova, we have seen a game where he composed before, Valiant Hearts: The Great War, and that one has a very good soundtrack.
Oh yeah, one of the games that used the UbiArt engine.
UbiArt engine, yes.
Ubisoft, you want to try using that again? Or you could use the goodwill.
Tom Clancy, Assassin's Creed. Be cool.
Far Cry. Oh wait, sorry.
To be fair, yes, Far Cry also got severely overinflated over the years, but.
But just to finish my point,
go on.
It also that's the thing. Like based on my experience from playing, for example, licensed Disney games at the time and everything, stuff like that, as well as some other stuff that I've played on other occasions. I really wish that developers would have understood better, like how I really believe that the best way to make these licensed games back in these days was to just make them for the weaker platforms and then enhance them and make enhanced ports on the HD consoles instead. That way it would be much more cost effective, I will argue, like instead of having two teams make two separate games.
Okay, I get the idea back then the publishers were very ambitious and wanted to, they did not pretty much care about the straining onto their teams. We've seen stuff like that also for when it came to Sega, when it came to the MCU licensed tie-in video games.
I suppose to give them some credit, look, okay, it's also this. Crunch is never justified, like, ever.
No, definitely.
I will say this, I can see why some people would argue that one team handle all the platforms, though, because having another team handle other platforms, while it should be good, can also lead to a lot of screw-ups here and there. Stuff can get lost in translation, stuff can get changed significantly to the point where it feels like one game is just an inferior experience or vice versa. Yeah, it's kind of ironic when sometimes the ported version ends up being better than the base version, but I digress.
Is that what happened to like Radia the Sky Soldier?
Well, okay, that's... No, here's the thing.
The Wii was actually the original version.
Yeah,
the Wii U and 3DS versions are ports, so...
Yeah, essentially, James, the Wii version is the original version. It's just that one was passed off as the bonus version you would get with the Wii U edition, essentially.
Thank God you're here. The place is infested with those dogs. I had to slip in here and try and lose them. You gotta help me. I can't leave till I DF a signal, and I got Viper Wolves everywhere. This mission's priority 1 for Commander
Dude.
Falco. It's to track Navi activity or something. I can't get it working.
Calm down. What do you need?
To find out what the mission is.
Signal, and I ain't never done this stuff before.
Why did they send this guy out to do the job, then?
I'll lock the signal for
That's
you.
a very good question.
Because there were no others left. Maybe?
You have to remember also that the RDA is supposedly a private company that has its own militia, meaning that these are not super skilled, officially trained soldiers by the state. And yes, by the way, you have an experience bar that it goes on depending on how many enemies you kill and how much you complete the missions. And the more you progress, the more better you get, the more good equipment you get, include between armors and weapons, and the better skills you get. Yes, skills. Unlike in the movie, even the human soldiers, both the human soldiers and the Navis, have a set of skills that they can use. These range from recovering health to project a shield to create like a shockwave that distracts or disperses the enemies all over the place. To something to like orbital bombardment. Yes, we get even to that. Again, it gives a lot of variety from being just a stale shooter mechanic.
Very much so, honestly.
So I do appreciate the fact that the developers did try to spice things up, or instead of making your generic, COD clone, which at the time would have been very, very easy to do. To be honest.
Like we all remember everyone's favorite, the Battleship video game.
Also, yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah,
is true.
Hayes, too.
But to be fair, Hayes was original property. Battleship is
wasn't
more
there that,
effective as an example, Jova.
I mean, didn't Ubisoft do that Call of Duty killer, quote unquote?
Hayes,
Hayes.
yes. They were the publishers of that, yes.
Yeah.
And
But
again,
anyway,
let's not forget, Hayes was essentially Ubisoft saying, look, I know we hired this team, but we as businessmen think we could do our jobs better than them. So let's send off our old junior executive to go tell them what to do and run it into the ground and then blame them when that doesn't turn out to be a success.
You know, Jova, the one positive coming out of the gameplay of the game throughout from our playthrough was that since then, Free Radical are now no longer dead.
No.
Oh, really?
Though, keep in mind, the Time Splitters in the meantime has passed in terms of right from THQ Nordic to Deep Silver, so they are the ones they have to decide.
Well, they're the same. They're owned by the same company.
Yeah, I know, Coach Media. But you have to remember, we have seen it with stuff like Mighty Number 9, but Deep Silver treats what they publish in a much different way. Something that is not as bad. Okay, let me tell also this. You have a different, decent enough variety of firearms. Machine gun, assault rifle, double pistol with infinite ammo in case you don't have ammo bags anywhere around. But trust me, you won't really run into that issue. Here's the thing. You don't really have an aim button. That reticule that is there, that's all you need. You just need to press the fire button. Trust me, it's more awkward than it looks because keep in mind this is a blind run. So I was mostly confused about, wait, why can't I? Usually when it comes to shooters, L1 lets you actually aim properly. When you're holding a weapon, and R1 pulls the trigger.
Well, okay. Usually, in my experience, it's the right analog stick that helps you aim, as opposed to.
Oh no, that is true. But I'm talking about, there you go, something similar to this when you are in scanner mode. Yes, the right analog stick moves the camera and consequentially also the reticule. But when it comes to actually take properly aim rather than just firing guns blazing as it's normally called, normally you have to play a dedicated button, whatever is L1 or something else, so your character actually does take aim and you see a more precise reticule, and the movement of your right analog stick is slowed down properly to help you take aim more better, on that front. But here, no, they literally let you shoot just like Rambo. It's like, it's very, you get used to it, but it's very awkward as a first impression, I will have to admit.
Also, I'll say this, it seems like this game could almost classify as an RPG with all the elements.
It has some RPG elements, but it's mostly just a shooter at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm also cutting some stuff because there's a lot of backtracking that you're not seeing through this. These maps are basically kind of similar to the ones in Monster Hunter, believe it or not. You have these small area clustered, with a lot of, tunnels like connecting them each other, and you have different kind of missions that make you go all over the place throughout the entirety of the area.
I was actually going to ask, how open world is this game?
It's kind of like, it's kind of like Monster Hunter in that kind of way. You're dropping this big area, which has, like I said, these small clusters all connected to each other, and you have to complete a set of missions before returning to the hub and being assigned to the next big area. So it's actually large enough, and like I said, the game is relatively long. I wasn't expecting it to last that long, and keep in mind there is a factor we haven't counted yet, but I will mention it at the end of the next part because it will make more sense by then.
Also, it seems I was really on the mark when I compared this to Metroid Prime. Like, a lot of stuff is scannable and even niche new articles.
Yeah, I also got something similar to that, vibes similar to that. I wonder if Ubisoft did saw what Retro Studio was doing. Was like, let's try this as well.
I mean, even the HUD aesthetic isn't too dissimilar from Prime, from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Although this is more properly a TPS and not an FPS.
Yeah,
you unlock those big boxes that serves to unlock rapid transportation between key points. Although you're forced to handle a loading screen every time. It's understandable, to be honest. You can also play something else which will be unlocked starting with part 3, I think.
Ooh, a hovercraft.
Yeah, this is your overcraft. You will not use it that much. There aren't many aquatic areas. Again, like I said, they try their best, but I have to admit, again, the environments look a bit too savvy. Way too much blue and green for my taste, which, yes, admittedly, it's the same as the movie did. But if I recall correctly, the movie did try to splice in at least yellows, all over the place. In here, it's mostly just blues and greens.
What
I
helped
mean,
with
it's
the
a
brown.
I mean, it's a forest. So.
what helped
I
with
know,
the,
I know, but you think that they would color the animals, for example? Excuse me.
Why was that
we-
animal trying to hump your vehicle?
I
So
don't know.
rude, so
Again,
rude.
the interrupting NPCs, Jova. They get used to them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But,
I mean, I suppose
go
to
on,
give
sorry.
the movie credit, we did get some nice colorful areas here, especially the
Oh no,
the
no,
giant.
the movie did, and if the trailer for the next game is anything to go by, they seem to be also trying to suggest new, complete different locations for Pandora. We'll see how that turns out in the end. Well, I gotta be honest, considering the recent developments with Ubisoft and everything, I'm mostly just interested for the time being to just see what the game does rather than play it myself for the time being.
So, how does the wildlife AI work in this game? Because I
Decently
noticed
enough,
a few here and
some
there.
animals do not attack you, while others, most others do. Especially if you're a human. But killing them grants you experience, no matter what they are. So it's encouraged to let go of a massacre because you're a evil human being, of course.
Okay,
But
so we're off to a good start, I'd say.
we'll see how things develop in the next one. See ya.
See ya.
Yep.